Bethany here with Craft with Bethany, and I'm back for another Sewing Help Hotline answer to your question. All right, so I've been getting so many calls. I really appreciate it. I'm doing my best to keep up with them around my busy schedule. I've been traveling a lot this month, so thank you for being patient with me. I did travel to the Lynn's Handmade bag making retreat, so that's what I did last week. So I'm getting caught up this week. My son's home from college for fall break, so I'm spending some extra time with him, and then I do travel again next week. I'm excited to be going to the Houston Quilt Market, so if you're going to be there, please come say hi. I'd love to meet you. And so just bear with me as I get caught up on some of these voicemails because I do have a few, and some are a little more involved, so give me a little more time to answer those. But I am going to play one tonight, and we'll see what the call is all about. So let's listen.
Hi, Bethany. I'm Sabella from the book Sabella Can Sew. I have a question. How do you start a sewing business? Hi, I'm Julianna, Sabella's sister, and I have two questions for you. Who was the first person to invent a sewing machine, and do you have any funny jokes about sewing?
Thanks, Bethany. It's Jackie. Thank you so much for taking my girls' questions. They actually have more questions lined up, but they wanted to kind of pop off with some bigger scope questions. So thank you. Bye.
That's so funny, bro.
Oh, those are great questions, Sabella and Julianna. And Jackie, thank you for letting them call in. I am going to go grab Jackie's book so I can show it to you. I know I showed it on my YouTube before, but it is sitting in my studio. And so I'm going to go grab it because it is Sabella Can Sew. So let me go grab that and I'll be right back. All right, so this is Sabella Can Sew, and this book was written by Jackie and Sabella, who left me a voice message. This is about her learning to sew. Jackie sent me this along with an extra one to be able to do a giveaway over my Instagram, and I did that last month, and someone won it, and I've sent it off to them to enjoy with their child. But if you would like to pick up this book, it is so sweet, and the artwork in it is beautiful. And at the very back, this is like my favorite part. I've never seen a book that included coloring pages. I wished my books growing up had coloring pages because I love to color, and these are just so sweet. So this sweet book is all about Sabella, whose voice you just heard, and her sister Julianna also left a message. But if you'd like to pick up this book, I'll put a link in the description. But let's get to their questions because they had some great questions. So Sabella asked, how do you start a sewing business? That's a great question. And honestly, I think you just have to have drive, motivation, willing to learn. It's not going to be perfect the first time, which I think you learned in your book when you made your outfit for the first time, that it doesn't always have to be perfect or what someone else's looks like. But you just have to be really passionate about it. You have to be excited about it. You're not going to be able to sell something in a business if you're not excited about it. So what I'm doing here with my Sewing Help Hotline is just because I'm so passionate about sewing and I have all this knowledge, and I feel like my knowledge would be a waste if I didn't share it. I've been very fortunate to start sewing at a very young age and have a mom who taught me how to sew or really inspired me to sew and then got me signed up for classes that really elevated my experience, and that kind of led me down that path. So I mean, I surround myself with people that are smarter than me, that know more than me, that I can learn from, like-minded people who also like the same things. That's why I have a sewing club that I started, because I wanted to have more sewing friends that I got to see every month. So honestly, Sabella, it really doesn't matter what you decide to sell as a business or to create a sewing business. If you're going to make things or if you're going to help people learn to make things, whichever aspect that you choose to go, you just have to be passionate about it and authentic to yourself. I think that's just the most important part, is you have to love it or else nobody else will love it as much as you. So you really have to love it for them to love it too. I think if you are already thinking about starting a sewing business, then you probably have an entrepreneur's mind, which means someone who really likes to has a lot of drive and motivation and wants to impact other people's lives, whether it's through making and selling a product or teaching and doing classes or whatever it is that you want to do. So I guess my biggest advice would be to figure out what you're excited about right now and focus on that. And how can you share that with others? Are you going to make, let's say, friendship bracelets? We're going to keep it simple. So let's say you want to make a bunch of friendship bracelets. Well, you need to kind of figure out what that would cost, would be like. So maybe mom can help you go to the craft store or shop online and get this, kind of figure out how much the supplies are going to be. And then you can say, okay, out of these supplies, I can make how many friendship bracelets? Okay, if I can make that many friendship bracelets, then that means it costs me this much per bracelet based on the expense of the materials. But how long did it take me to make those bracelets? So if it took me several hours or even days, I need to keep track of my time. How much time am I spending on it? Because I need to not only cover my cost for my materials, but I also want to make some extra money to pay for my time that I spend on it, but also enough to that I can buy more supplies to keep making more if they sell. So you have to find that kind of fine balance. So I really recommend keeping your receipts and keeping track of what you're spending, and then making sure it's something that you have fun with. I would also recommend starting with a small amount. Maybe you give a few away to some really close friends and say, hey, these are the new friendship bracelets I'm going to be making and I want to sell them. If you like them, I'd love for you to wear one and tell your friends about it to spread the news, right? So your mom sent me your book so that I could spread the news about her book, which also aligns with what I do and the people that follow me. So it helps people know that they need to go get this book, right? So also, again, keeping people who like to do the same thing as you in your circle of friends and the people that you surround yourself by and people who cheer you on and are supportive of whatever you choose to do is really key. Really, really, really important. So I'm going to tell you a little story. I owned a business called Biscuit Belle Boutique, and I don't think I have any of the stuff within arm's reach anymore, but it was a business I started with my dog Biscuit, and you've probably seen her, or your mom's probably showed you a picture of her from my Instagram. I share pictures of her a lot because she's my little girl and I'm obsessed with her. Anyways, her and I went into business together back in 2019, and I started making snap-on and reversible dog bandanas. And I started an Etsy shop. And I had never done any of that before, and I just kind of figured it out. And to really motivate myself, I signed up for a craft fair 3 months after I started my business. And I knew it would push me to take it seriously. I knew it would push me to create a lot of inventory. And when I say craft fair, this is one of the largest craft fairs in Central Florida, like Orlando, where I lived at the time. And I think 40,000 people come through that fair in that one day it's open. It's a big event, and I went big. I had never done a craft fair before. I had to buy a tent and all these tables and tablecloths and business cards, and I had to get tags for my bandanas for sizing. I mean, it was figure out how I was going to display them all, and I had made hundreds of dog bandanas by hand, all of them myself. Picked out all the fabrics, bought all the stuff, priced them. And I had a wonderful event. I made some really good money at that event. And it was a great opportunity for me to really put myself out there in my community that I lived in at the time to introduce my new bandana business. And, it was going great. Well, then the pandemic happened and everything, all those kind of events kind of shut down. So I wasn't doing any more of them for a while. And so my business relied on Etsy and social media. So I was sharing and I was posting, and at that time I had came back to Tennessee. So once things started to ramp up again, I was doing more events here and I had some really great events. But let me tell you what happened, and there's a reason why I don't have that business anymore, and it's kind of twofold. And remember how I said, pick something that you want to do that matters to you right now. But this is the key takeaway. It doesn't have to matter to you forever. Okay, so I loved my bandana business. I loved doing it. But then I grew to not love it as much. And I kind of was upset about that because I wanted to love it, but I got burnt out on it because I was making hundreds or thousands of bandanas every year all by myself with my own two hands. And it was a lot. And then I was doing all of these weekend events and everything, and you're standing in these booths and doing all this stuff. And it's a lot of work, setting that up, working those events, taking it down, doing it multiple weekends through the holiday season and everything. It was a lot of work. And, I'm working full time as well. So I want to tell you that because I finally chose to close my bandana business, and I felt bad because I loved doing it and I loved how it launched me back into the sewing world after being out of it for a few years. And it kind of launched my career that I have now, so I'm super grateful for it. But at a point, it kind of served its purpose, and it was time for me to move on, take what I've learned and apply it to what I'm passionate about next, right? And that was teaching sewing. I wanted to do more than just make bandanas over and over and over again. After a while, it kind of gets boring. And I'm one of those people that can't just do the same thing over and over. If I make a pattern or something more than once, it's really good. And, but typically I sew something once, a project or a pattern once, and I'm like, okay, I did it. Now what's next? I want to do something different. So it wasn't really conducive to the type of person I am to be repetitive in that sense, but I did it for 5 years and I loved it and it was fun and I made a lot of money doing it. And I'm really grateful for that. But I say all of that to say that just because you start a business doesn't mean that it has to be the same business forever. Businesses can be short-term. We can learn a lot from them. And from that learning, we can decide and evolve into something that we want to do next, something that might better serve us and the community that we're in. So for me, that was kind of my experience. It was sewing related, but now I'm not making the same product over and over. I'm doing these fun videos and talking to you guys and helping you guys out. So I hope that kind of gives you some advice, but just dream big. I'll tell you this right now, Sabella, I just turned 40, which way is it? 40, can't do that. I just turned 40 and I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. And I don't know that we ever really figure that out. And there's some people who figure that out early on and they're that is who they are for the rest of their lives. And that's wonderful. But for me, I got to keep changing it up. And that's just how creative people are. And so for me, I am going to constantly be evolving because I'm constantly learning and I'm constantly trying to improve upon myself so I can better serve the sewing community. I know for a fact that I want to stay in the sewing community and do all of that, but I don't know if I'll always be doing what I'm doing now or if I don't think I'll go back to things I was doing before. It's an evolution and there's nothing wrong with that because we all get to create our own paths. And as long as we are true to ourselves, the right doors will continue to open. So I hope that helps encourage you. I can't wait to see what you decide to do. Julianna, who is Sabella's sister, had a question that said, who is the first person that invented a sewing machine? And then she asked if I have any funny sewing jokes. I'll have to find a joke for you. I feel like I heard one the other day, so I'll have to find it and I'll tell you. But who invented the first sewing machine? I actually have this little book right here, The Invention of the Sewing Machine. As soon as you asked this question, I was like, I have to find this. And I actually have a few of them, so I'll send these to your mom for you and your sister to have so you can look through them and have them. But these are books that I got when I worked at Singer because the first practical sewing machine was invented by I.M. Singer, and it can be seen in the Smithsonian Institute. Here's a little sketch of it right there. But this was something that was put out by Singer Sewing Company. I don't know when, but when we moved offices end of last year, and they were cleaning some things out in the old office, corporate office, somebody found a stack of these. I have several. I took them. I was like, I will happily hand these out to people. I feel like there's a lot of people that want to know the history of sewing. And you don't always know what you're going to get when you Google, but when you get it directly from the source, it usually is a good inclination that it's going to be correct. But there's some very interesting stories in this thing, and I'm not going to read the whole thing because I'm just going to send it to you so you guys can have it to read. But there's a lot of helpful information in here, and there's kind of like a fun little timeline of the sewing machines, which is kind of cool, and how they've evolved, and the different types of sewing machines that they've made, and commercial machines. But yeah, these are kind of, and who not only who invented, but who like manufactured them, who created them so that they could be used all over, right? So other businesses could use them to make their products. But yeah, there's a lot of really cool information in here, and I think it might be worth reading through. But Isaac Merritt Singer, so IM stands for Isaac Merritt. Isaac Merritt Singer is who basically invented the first actual sewing machine. They had knitting machines before, but he's the one that came in and said, I feel like we could kind of use this concept and create something that actually sews the fabric together, not just knits the material. So that's kind of who invented sewing machines. And here's a little picture of him from back in the day. So yeah, I'll send this to you guys. I'll set 2 over here for you and your sister to be able to have and read and learn from. And then let me think about a sewing joke. Okay. Don't come at me for this joke, but since we were talking about sewing machines, how can you tell if a sewing machine is trustworthy? When it seems honest. Get it? Seems honest. All right, that's the best I got for you, girl. I hope you guys leave me some more voicemails. These questions are really fun, and I hope you learned something. And yeah, I hope you enjoy these little books I'm going to send to you, because I think you'll kind of take a deep dive into the evolution of the industry. It's more than just learning about the beginning of the sewing machine. It's how the industry came to be, which I think is really cool to know that history. So I love that you want to know it. So Julianna, Sabella, thank you so much for calling in. I can't wait to hear your next questions. And guys, if you enjoyed hearing these questions and you want to leave me a question, just hop on over to my website, craftwithbethany.com, to learn more about the Sewing Help Hotline, or book a one-on-one session if you need help with a specific project or technique or machine. But if you just want to call the toll-free hotline, it's 1-833-LET'S-SEW. And you can leave me a voicemail just like Sabella and Julianna did, and I will answer it in a video format just like this, and I'll either answer it like this or we'll dive into the sewing machine or technique and we'll go over the steps, and I'll be able to answer your question that way. So I can't wait to do more of these. I have some more lined up. So until next time, happy sewing.